Hi, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. My name is Aster. I'm the genre queer programmer at Milwaukee Film. And today we have a very special Q&A with members of the cast and crew of the film Straight Up. We're going to start off. I will let everyone introduce themselves. And then we have a few questions. And then we'll take some questions from the audience on YouTube. So, James Sweeney, would you like to start us off?
Hi, I'm James Sweeney. I am the writer and director, and I also play Todd in Straight Up.
I am Katie Findley, and I was boring and only did one thing, and I play Rory in Straight Up.
My name's James Scully. I was super boring because I only did one thing, and I did significantly less of it than they did. And I played Ryder.
But he's so good looking.
I like how your hair is starting to disappear.
It's very inconsistent. The continuity is not great.
Ooh.
Y'all being so modest.
The rest of it like this.
Oh, sorry.
No, I was just gonna say I'm doing the rest of it like this.
Oh yeah, you look
great
fabulous.
light. Don't move, Katie.
Go ahead.
Direct us all, James. Direct us.
Yeah.
So I guess to kick things off, a question for the director that everyone can jump in on is where did the idea of this film come from? And how did you determine the style? Because this film has a very particular style that I think the audience is very engaged in.
Yeah, I think I wrote it so long ago, so I'm sure I was just very, very lonely at the time. And assuming I was going to die alone, and I wanted to write myself into a way where maybe that wouldn't happen. And I guess the style was sort of like an amalgamation of different films that I love, and an homage to the old screwball comedy genre. And I mean, I guess it developed over time in terms of the specifics of it, because it's a bit of a blend of different aesthetics that I enjoy, and kind of tried to make it fit with the themes and the characters that serve the story the best. So
Great. And this question for Katie and James Scully, how did you get involved in this project? What was that process like?
Scully, you go.
Me? Okay. Basically, luckily some of the people that I already worked with also worked with and for James, and they sent me the script and any chance to play a queer character especially in a narrative that is so much about very individual, specific, special kinds of love, I was very gung-ho about. And then I really made a very adventurous tape, and luckily James responded to it, and we had a Skype call a few days later, and then he offered me the job, and here we are.
What was your very adventurous tape?
I just did a lot of ad libs and made some pretty strong choices. James can tell, or maybe not. Maybe he's
I don't know.
What sold it was actually his slate was so Ryder, which apparently I guess he does it for all of it, which just says that what you need.
I think I winked. I don't know.
The wink at the end.
I don't wink in every slate, but
he also says it like a model because he's James Scully, New York, and I can't do it. But...
James Scully.
Anyway, so it's a miracle I got the job. Katie?
Actually, I watched the tape and I was like, him. So yeah, my introduction to it was actually through a very traditional casting process. I feel like a lot of people don't know this, but when you're an actor, a lot of your life is auditioning full time, it's your job, unless you're super duper famous, which I'm not. And so I got the script to read for interest, and I remember showing it to every smart person I know and saying, either, depending on who made this, I either have to be in it or it's unbelievably offensive and I can't be in it. And it will depend to me entirely on if someone within the community is telling the story, or if someone is trying to capitalize on queerness and tell the story. And I was so glad that it was James. So I just taped like a regular person and said every word in the English language as fast as humanly possible. And then James and I had Skype callback where I thought he thought I was an idiot and he apparently thought I was quite nice. So that was exciting. That's it.
Awesome.
Captivating.
These are very charming stories.
Thank you.
So one of the signature styles of the film is this like rapid paced dialogue that for me is very reminiscent of like a 1930s, 40s screwball comedy where you're talking a mile a minute. And this is a question for everyone. What was it like filming in that style? Did it lead to any like improvisation? Were you pretty close to the script? Was it hard to constantly talk that quickly without messing up? Give me all the dirty details about this. Whoever wants to jump in first.
I have one. Okay, so twofold, 2 tabs open. One, we stayed pretty close to the script, I think, except for Scully, because he's the only one who's funny enough to be allowed to go off script. And half of the outtakes
No,
just
false.
Scully saying things. Half of the outtake reel is just the beginning of a scene 95 times and Scully saying something different every time. And
They weren't all keepers.
yes, they were. Don't lie to the people; they have to know. And in terms of speech speed, I have learned in my adulthood that the faster I talk and the more intensity I speak with, the more uncomfortable the people around me will be. And my therapist and I are working on me expressing myself in a calmer way. So this was an excuse to not do that. And I just got to lean into my most high energy, expressive self. And it was the best gift James could have given me. So James, say smart things now.
Which one?
Either one.
I'll say that I actually, opposite of Katie, especially when I act for some reason, my mom's an English professor and I just want everyone to know that I understand what every single word means. So it usually takes me like 15 minutes to say every single word. I'm like, these syllables, let me really drive them home. And something that was nice about working with James is he was pretty insistent that he was like, no, you have to say it faster and you have to say what I wrote. And eventually I started doing that and I was like, oh yeah, this makes it like way easier for me. And also it's rare in my life, I think probably in all of our lives, except for James's because he's the writer, that we're going to get to deal with material that is that good, to be perfectly honest, that it is that brilliantly written and that you can trust so much to be like, if I truly just like focus on the person in front of me, think about why he chose me to do this job, and then say what he wrote for me directly and quickly, the thing will happen and we will make the movie and it will be good. So that was a big, and now I've, with success, brought that into other audition processes and parts of my life where I'm like, maybe if I just say this as quickly as possible, it will seem more clever and more like I am in control of what's going on. And you heard it here first, folks.
That's my secret. How quickly can I get through this?
Yeah, 100%. James?
Yeah, I fall more in the Katie camp that I had been told, like, I don't audition nearly as much as these people, but that when I do, I get, okay, can you slow it down a little bit? I've definitely gotten that note quite a lot. So I think it's sort of a little bit more attuned to my natural rhythm. I definitely don't talk as fast or as articulately as Todd in real life. So it's definitely like hyperbolizing that version of myself for these characters. But yeah, it's definitely you know, an homage, as you said, like His Girl Friday, Bringing Up Baby, or more recent Gilmore Girls, Moonlighting. These sort of like talk fast, like the short characters, and trying to use that as like an extension of the themes of these characters, kind of like using it as like a way to avoid talking about their issues.
For me, it feels a bit like a verbal dance party.
Mm-hmm.
Like it takes a lot of energy. It is essentially joyful, but you're really tired when you're done.
Yeah. Your jaw gets sore.
Yeah, a little bit.
So next I wanted to ask, one of the things I loved about the film, and I think what a lot of people responded to the film, is the interesting take on like really interrogating like the fluidity of sexuality and kind of the usefulness and maybe constraints of like sexual identities. And I'm curious to hear all of your thoughts on like what the response to the film has been to you. Like how have people been responding to this work? Sorry.
All the silences.
James.
We can throw that question away if it's not good.
No. I think we're all
it's
trying
so
to
good.
not. We're trying to not
love.
step on each other. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're trying to be professional adults, and it's hard for us.
Again, like 1/3 of the movie. You know what I mean? Go ahead, James.
No, I'm also trying. This is like a practice test for me because I realize in doing like Q&As how much I say because I just start talking without thinking, and now I'm trying to like be more thoughtful in my responses and pause before I say anything.
It is
So
okay to
as I'm
develop a
rambling,
skill set in a safe environment.
This is a safe space. James.
You
I
are
feel
doing a
so
good
safe
job.
right now.
Good.
I'm reading his lips, but I don't know what he said.
I can't.
Sorry. Yes, I've I already forgot the question. I'm so sorry.
I may have overcomplicated it. I'm really just interested in what his audience's response has been to you about the film, particularly in regard to how you like deal with sexuality. Like, even though the film is very like lighthearted and romantic and fun, it is dealing with a pretty heavy topic of giving space for a gay person to explore potentially being heterosexual. And I'm curious how people have responded to that.
I will say, as someone who's been to a lot of, because we've had a pretty robust festival run in a lot of different parts of the country, which has been really exciting and really wonderful. I've been really overwhelmed by the various and diverse types of people who have come up to the film and told me specifically how they related to the film, whether it was because they are OCD, whether it was because they were married to a woman for 20 years, whether it was because they are asexual and never see ace representation. It's been really touching to me because that's really what you want, just for your material to connect to somebody, and the fact that people can maybe feel seen or moved by something is kind of just a gift.
I think that I've seen that people's response to the film is it sort of taps into this great softness and this great tenderness that leaving room for everyone to see themselves in a piece of media sort of invites in. And I mean, I had a similar reaction to James. There were people who identify in ways that you know, we don't even necessarily touch directly on in the film, who see parts of their heart validated by it, or parts of their journey validated by it. And I don't know, I think it's a really humbling experience to be part of creating something that opens some space and that people inject value into it by allowing us to be part of their journey or part of their experience of their own queerness and their own identification and their own you know, gentle movement with themselves through the world. And I've cried a lot at festivals with this movie.
James Scully, did you have anything to add? Oh, we can't hear you, James.
Oh, I can't hear you, James. Scully, you're gone. Take your headphones out.
That this was going to happen.
Hey, there you go.
We got you.
No, I mean, nothing more than what James and Katie said. I think, actually, speaking of responses to the film, I guess I would say what was nice for me was my response to the film. As an actor, it's rare that you get to see things that you've been in that, you know, I didn't really have a sense of what it was going to look like. And it was really special getting to see it at a festival for the first time with James and be like, oh my God, this is so brilliant. And that even though I had read the script many, many times, the way he put the story together on screen spoke to me and said things to me about my journey in sexuality and love and romance. And I just want to say nice things about James. You know what I mean? That's really an opportunity to do. Anyway, moving on.
This is such a heartwarming conversation.
It's a heartwarming film. It really
We're
is.
wholesome. We're a little bit wholesome.
I love
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
This is good, wholesome, queer content.
Hashtag wholesome queer content.
Yes. Yes.
The hashtag we need.
I'll start it. It's just my Instagram. My Instagram is just. Go ahead.
Plug the Instagrams. We have some audience questions coming in, so I'll start on those. But I also want to put it out there for viewers watching that if you have questions, please submit them and we'll get around to them. So this first one is for James Sweeney, but I think this can be expanded to everyone. Based on your website URL, I sense you are a Sondheim fan. Favorite Sondheim?
That's funny. I mean, I am. I wouldn't say I'm a fanatic because I haven't seen. I'm trying to think if I've actually seen any live production of a Sondheim musical, and none is coming to mind. So I'll go with Into the Woods because I kind of like musicals that are partially like deconstruction of the genre.
I'm a freak who likes Merrily We Roll Along.
You're not a freak.
I will start sobbing immediately if someone sings Good Thing Going. I'm done. That's it. We out here.
Mine's Sweeney Todd.
Fair. Suck up.
No, just is. Although A Little Night Music, here's a homework assignment for everyone. Go on YouTube, unless you're already on YouTube watching this, and then stay where you are. And look up Audra McDonald's performance of The Glamorous Life, the feature film version of A Little Night Music. It's healing in this time of great uncertainty.
We all had one.
Good question, though. Thank you.
Yeah.
That's why he hired us, Katie.
Yeah.
Another audience question we have is, what was your favorite day on set or favorite scene to shoot?
Sorry, I'm combing through what felt like 9 years of my life.
I know. You guys have so many. I have like 3 days.
Your days were my favorite. One of my favorite days I wasn't even in when they were shooting in that cute little diner in Eagle Rock, and I got there early for a scene.
You were in the scene.
I wasn't in the beginning of the day. So it's where they try to get him to say pussy and he can't say it. And so I just sat on James' coverage. I was sitting on the other side with Dana and Scully, watching them try to make him laugh. And when at one point he says it, and then Scully, it's in an outtake, Scully says, well, even Ted Bundy had girlfriends. And I wrecked the take that I wasn't supposed to be in.
I did not say that.
Yes, you did.
You did.
Brilliant.
It's on camera.
I'm not a good person, you guys. That was probably my favorite too, was that day in the diner.
So good. Or when we shot the irony scene in one take, and it took it was like a oneer. And it took like 8 hours, and in the middle James knew everybody was really tired, so he ordered us donuts, and so the whole crew had a big 20-minute donut break in the middle that felt like I don't know, it felt like when your parents come and pick you up early from school when you're a kid and you realize that you're just going to get off scot-free and do something that you'd rather be doing for a minute. It was very exciting.
I think my favorite day was the flash mob dance day, just because the dancers were so much fun. I felt so bad because it was really hot outside, and they were just sweating, and because they're not professional dancers either. But God, they were amazing, and that was a good day. It was a beautiful day outside. It's avoiding the sunlight, and it was just a good all around.
I ran away from set during a particularly long setup and saved a lizard from inside the office building and came back, and nobody noticed I was gone. Because I'm that stealthy. This is not a good answer, but it's the truth.
No, that's a beautiful answer. Lizards are great. They're lucky to have.
I saved it. He didn't know he was stuck in a bathroom.
They never do.
I also like the iconic movie couple costume scene. Oh, sorry, I'm interrupting. Because it was fun to just see everybody. I also had a lot of my friends come in as extras, so there's a lot of love on set that day, even though it was really long and stressful.
It was. That was a fun day too. Yeah, they were all really fun days. It was a super good project to work on. It's
we just have
maybe
a nice
my favorite thing I've ever done. I'm not. I sound like I'm being disingenuous, but I'm not. I truly do not.
You're just naturally wry, so it lends itself.
I just, when I have real feelings, I have to say them in an angry, confrontational way to get through it.
It's relatable content. Sorry, Esther.
No, this is about you all, so this is good. I was going to add to that. I seem to remember in October when James and James, you were in Milwaukee. Wasn't there a story of, was it Katie almost breaking a lamp during?
No, I did break a lamp.
Did break a lamp.
I definitely broke a lamp.
Did he break it?
So the
It was
scene
a prop
where
lamp.
it was not, it was a real lamp.
Oh.
The scene where I walk in and Meg and her boyfriend are making out on, so our set deck, our entire art department wizard, Ty Whipple, had set up this beautiful room, and he had put a lamp on the corner. Did you just have a moment thinking about Ty?
Yes.
Yeah.
He's an angel. But he had set up this lamp that was also partially lighting the scene, and the big pile of presents was so painstaking. Everything was like blood, sweat, and tears on this shoot. So he had set up this beautiful, delicate, rig. And I walked in on the very first take, knocked the entire thing over, and knocked the lamp off the thing and broke it. And it's in the movie.
She was supposed to knock over the gifts. That
It was lighting
like,
half the scene. I
intended,
knocked out the lighting of half
but
the scene.
not the lamp, and that's what made it so
The
perfect.
moment I stepped on set. Because
I actually cried. I was laughing so hard.
mostly because I turned into a Muppet post-destruction.
It was so perfect.
Well, it really works on camera.
It really does. It's such a cute moment.
That's the one too. That's
Which is good, because then that scene's like, oh,
Yeah.
oh no. So you really you cut the tension really well at the beginning.
I do what I can. I'm kind of like having a Great Dane. My limbs are too long for the rest of me, and you can't trust me in small spaces.
Yeah. And you're lovable. That's the most important quality you share.
Thanks.
Another question that just came in was, how did the story change over time from the first draft to the final product?
Question.
Well, the first draft was over 150 pages, and the final was 110. So that's one. So can you imagine saying 40 more pages, Katie?
Oh, Sorry, I just had an aneurysm.
I'm trying to think.
Rory talked a lot more originally, and then he met me, and he was like, "No, no, 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 no."
Yeah, I don't know that like the story changed that much. I think, as the my also understanding of the queer spectrum evolved throughout the 7 years of trying to get this movie off the ground. There were maybe specific lines or like things that in the therapy scenes that we wanted to explore. The ending is different. Katie actually, this is one thing that she did that is one of my favorite jokes in the film that typically gets one of the biggest laughs, is Katie astutely pointed out that we talk about sexuality in such a spectrum, but we never explicitly also identify gender as a spectrum as well. And that's where I infused the new joke about, well, are you sure you're a boy? Into that therapy scene. And so that was actually like a pretty late addition, I think like maybe a week before we shot that scene. So, I think we tried to keep it collaborative with feedback and the cast thoughts, and making sure that it catered to the people, because the people that I was working with. I'm just rambling now. Okay.
I did hear. Let me save you. I did notice a lot of times obviously I just saw the script that I was given, which was pretty much done. But
yeah,
I did notice a lot of times that James, we would have conversations about whether or not the treatment of a particular idea was calling people in or not, or if we were leaving room for everybody or not. And James was really good about anytime we could open a little bit of extra space for someone else to see themselves somewhere in here. It was important to him to do that, and important to me to do that, important to all of us. So I did notice things shift just the tiniest bit and expand as we started actually shooting and running into these discussions, which was really heartening for me, I think.
James Scully, did you have anything to add?
No, again, it was like James, I don't think really, besides the like many not very tasteful things that I said before and after scenes, that James
Brilliant.
allowed me to add, just because he was like, "We'll just cut it, but go for it, James." This script was pretty much done and stayed the way that it did, as far as I knew, because again, it was like, you know, it didn't need it. You don't put Jimmy's on good ice cream. It was, I think he did. There were a few times. That was my happiest day on set, actually, is there was a moment where the mean manager in the party scene was supposed to make a joke about Katie looking like you were from Kansas?
Kansas.
Which we love Kansas on this Zoom live. It was just
100%.
a joke in the movie. But they changed it for Katie, and James came to me and asked me what I thought the joke should be, and I was like, "Oh my God, he likes me!" That was they didn't take my suggestion, but it was like the gesture that. So that's my answer to this question that nobody asked me.
I am of mixed heritage, I think was the joke. As are many people in Kansas.
I think somebody pointed out, do they have supercuts in Puerto Rico? Like, so maybe, I don't know if maybe there was another
he
state
doesn't
we
know.
could have.
That guy's an asshole.
That's fair.
Supercut,
He's
not
been
Kansas.
anywhere.
Sorry, Kansas.
We also did, we reshot the breakup scene because I felt the original version didn't feel as in tone with the rest of the film. I noticed when we were editing it.
It was super heavy.
So that was the one thing that we actually were able to reshoot when we did the pickups in January, because we had not finished, because we didn't have the money to finish the film at the time. So we had a scene to film, which we later did. And then we also reshot one scene.
Which is good, because in the original breakup scene, I did a real bad job. So this is better, hopefully.
Well, I don't know what that one looked like, but you
Trust
guys,
me.
the scene in the film, you nailed it. It's
Thanks,
so
Scully.
good. Also, the irony scene is, again, that's like maybe my favorite scene, and I was not in it. So
that's like looking back at Olympic weightlifting for me, the irony scene.
Yeah. It's funny, like I do notice that people do latch on, because when you're watching it, it doesn't get as many laughs, I've noticed in theaters. And it took me a while. I'm like, oh, did people not like it? It's because like you have to listen to it because there's no room for breathing. That everyone's respectfully more quiet, and it took me a while to figure that out.
James, this is a complete divergence from everything happening in this Zoom call right now, but you should write a podcast during quarantine. That's happening a lot. I've already seen like 4 commercials for like dramatic podcasts that are being made because people can't shoot things. And I would love to just listen to people saying words that you had written for them.
Do it and cast me, because he says he can't cast me in his next movie, and I understand why, because I've read it and it's great, but it wouldn't make any sense to put me in it. And you have to write me an entire podcast, James.
There's another, first of all, yeah, if I don't get a role in the podcast that I suggested you write, we're no longer friends. Also, send me this new script immediately. Sorry, Esther.
You don't have to apologize to me, James.
We don't get to hang out.
Yeah, we haven't seen each other.
We respect your authority. We respect your space. Just like hurting
Thank you for being here.
Yeah.
We appreciate you.
I am here as a conduit for you all.
Save everybody else from us.
But selfishly, I want this podcast really bad. Please.
Yeah.
And all the
James, hurry up.
Okay.
Another question that we had come in is, I lost my spot. What are your favorite screwball comedies and ones that influence the film the most? I know you mentioned a few, James, and I would like to expand that question for the people that didn't direct the film, is where did you draw inspiration for your performances? I guess we'll start with the screwball comedies. James Sweeney.
Yeah, I Bringing Up Baby is a big one. His Girl Friday, and then I'd say in terms of other romantic comedies, I'm going to expand it a little bit. That inspired work like Kissing Jessica Stein, The Wedding Banquet, As Good as It Gets, Silver Linings Playbook, A Little 500 Days of Summer. those aren't necessarily screwball comedies, but also really great dialogue, and smart, and some of them very queer and wonderful. Yeah.
I also love Bringing Up Baby. I love The Philadelphia Story. By extension, To Be Bougier, I love High Society.
I haven't seen that.
And it's good. It's just like they just made it, I don't know, douchier. I'm a big Marx Brothers fan, so anytime I get to talk in circles as though nobody else is in the room and then remove myself from the environment, I'm very happy. It's also what I do when I'm uncomfortable at parties, which doesn't really help me much. And Scully knows it's true. In terms of, oh no, I should never mind. Scully, do screwball comedies, and then we can keep talking.
I don't feel like I still, and I feel comfortable saying this because this is exactly what Ryder would say in this situation. Be the character, you guys. I don't really understand genre well enough to tell you for sure which movies I've watched that are screwball comedies, or if I've ever watched any screwball comedies. I feel like I'm going to say the wrong movie, and then James is going to have to not speak to me anymore.
He has to for the podcast.
But yeah, you're right. So, but I mean, in terms of inspiration, I just thought about I want to try and have a flexible understanding of my sexuality and the love that I have for other people. Conversation is one that a lot of queer people are having with themselves, but maybe anxious to talk about because, you know, you have to be able to like defend your position against homophobes, and you're like, if I'm a moving target, does that make it complicated for other people? Suffice to say, I had a lot of very unhelpful queer friends in my life who were like, no, you're gay and you like boys and that's your track. So stay in your lane. Stacey Lane Matthews. And that wasn't super helpful. And so I like based Ryder on those people and on that voice in myself that was like, you think after kissing boys for 3 years, any girl is going to want to kiss you. Also, that very problematic understanding of gender. Yeah. So that's what I drew on, was sort of the like parts of my, that sort of like, I feel like there's all these people that hate me and it's giving me a lot of stress and I'm not managing it well by lashing out at the people that I should be supporting on the journey that they're going on. That's where I drew inspiration from.
Mine's not going to be that good. Hell, I think that I have a lot of, and I actually noticed that while working on this, I have more experience than I thought with feeling out of place or like I'm performing when it comes to sort of the casual sexuality of the world. I always felt that, you know, I could perform my gender, I could perform, you know, I could be a person with sexuality in the world, but you know, in high school and as a young person, I definitely felt like other people were okay with casual sexual performance out in the world in a way that I wasn't. And as I've grown, I've sort of come to terms with it more, and you know, like everybody else in the world, it's partially a trauma thing, it's partially a queer thing, it's all kinds of stuff. But being able to live in a person who is sort of raging against that tension, and as you know, as we know, Rory has also experienced sexual trauma and is in the middle of sort of her journey of healing and coming to terms. So being able to live with a person sitting on my ribs for a while who's so raw and so right in the middle of all of it made me feel a little bit seen, and made my, you know, little 18-year-old self feel a little bit seen. And also, you know, I've just really always wanted to be on the West Wing. So being able to say smart things at 500 miles an hour and then be very rude and somehow seem erudite for it is a dream come true. So that
was the West Wing a screwball comedy? Because I have watched a
No,
screwball comedy. I know, I was joking, you guys. I'm sorry.
I just want to be Allison Janney. So the more I could, that's all I wanted.
I love that for you, Katie.
Thank you.
And you're like, you're this person plus this person plus this person. Allison Janney is definitely in there. And
that's the nicest thing anyone's ever said to me. James, other James.
Yeah, actually, I would add. I mean, I grew up on Joss Whedon and Brian Fuller, so those are also huge influences, I think, on myself as a filmmaker. So I'm sure there are influences there in Straight Up. I guess in terms of performance, I don't know.
You drew on the Todd.
I feel like, yeah, exactly. I felt like I kind of was writing this from a place where I was maybe a little bit more emotionally raw, and then as I've been like hardened over the years, I had to like retrograde myself, like to get there and like recapture some of that guilelessness that Todd has, because I'm not quite that anymore. So I definitely would catch myself on set, being like, oh no, you sound too much like James. Like, go back and you need to like brighten it up, or be a little bit more, I don't know, naive and nice, or whatever Todd is.
Well, and also, can I say, you were in an interpersonal situation with me where we had just sort of met each other, and we're going to need to immediately leap into this very, very, very intimate work with each other. And this movie is your baby, right? You've been working on this. This is something that's incredibly personal, and it's a vulnerable space to invite someone who you don't know into. So in a funny way, us having a chance to warm up to each other and never 100%, like we were sort of moving targets to each other the entire time. We were learning a lot about each other as we shot this. And I think that you had to stay vulnerable in an interesting way to do this with me, because you couldn't just shut me out or not pay attention to what I was doing, because you were also directing and doing everything on the planet. You had, because I was your partner. So
Right.
in a similar way that Todd has to stay constantly vulnerable through the whole thing in order to be in this relationship in the first place, you weirdly had to do a little bit of that to get through the shooting process with me, which I think is interesting.
Yeah. That's probably another challenging aspect, because like I couldn't be able to direct this movie. Like I'm like, well, maybe I could just like be in character as Todd the whole time, and maybe that'll make it easier. And
Lose your mind.
that did not work.
Lose your mind, eat your crew. Don't do
You
it.
really challenge yourself as a person a lot, and I think that in the script, and also just by having 4 jobs on this production, and I think
Only 4?
that really yeah, but they're like the 4 top jobs. These are the top 4 people on the call sheet. I think it like added to the integrity of the work, and like really gave the film an energy of, I don't know, it was very real and authentic and genuine, which was nice.
Thank you.
You're welcome. But also thank you for putting me in the movie, so actually never mind.
Hi, Aster.
Hello.
Aster, how are you doing?
Listen to y'all talk for hours. No, stop apologizing, James Scully. I think we're kind of approaching the end. I think before we wrap up, I would like to throw out a question for everyone. What's next for you, if you're able to share it? What's next for this film? Or are you working on anything you want to plug besides the future Queer West Wing podcast that we can all look forward to?
Oh my God. The only thing I need in my life for the rest of forever.
West Wing, but everyone's queer.
Everyone.
Want
that'd
it.
be amazing.
I call Josh Lyman. Please. I must. You know I have to. It has to be done.
That's
Oh, I took a personality quiz, and I was Tobias, and I was so upset.
To buy it. Toby?
Toby?
Yeah.
Toby's awesome.
National treasure, Richard Schiff.
Toby?
We're upset.
Toby Ziegler is okay.
We're not.
We'll talk about
We're
it
gonna
later.
go
Not
off
even
on you in
begun to
private
answer
later.
this question, you guys.
National
She
treasure.
seems
Toby
very
Ziegler.
unhappy. Straight Up will be available. It's actually available for pre-order right now on iTunes. And the more people pre-order it, the better placement we get. So if you love the movie and want to own it, and I'm double checking, I think the bloopers will be included in the iTunes purchase, and not just the DVD. And they are worth it. So yeah, if you love the movie, please share and go tell people to get a copy. And then I'm working on a pilot that hopefully will get made in 3 years when we're allowed to leave our houses.
Can I be in that?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
3 years.
I was busy for a lot of this year being a hot gay mess on Nancy Drew, and now I can't do that because none of us can be hot gay messes anywhere.
Oh, honey.
But except inside James Scully's
I'm a hot
apartment.
gay mess right here.
Yeah, but that was delightful. It's a lovely show full of lovely people, and you know, when I can get back out in the world again, I'll start offering to have people pay me to do my job because that's how it works. But for now, I'm contemplating capitalism and art and the intersection in my apartment that I'm grateful to have. Scully?
I guess if you haven't watched the second season of You on Netflix yet, go watch it, or don't. Whatever. Judgment call. Use your discretion. I don't know. Yeah, I am doing a podcast while I'm in quarantine. Not James's, unfortunately, because he hasn't written it yet. But I don't know if I'm allowed to talk about that yet because I haven't signed my contract. And then, yeah, job-wise, everything's watch Straight Up, because who knows when anybody's going to be allowed to make anything. So yeah, Straight Up.
If I could be talking about anything in quarantine, though, I'm glad that it's this movie.
Oh, like 100%.
Yeah. There it is.
We got one last, it's a comment, not a question, but it's really lovely, so I want to share it with everyone. It says, I don't have a question, but I just wanted to say I loved the film. I so deeply related to the anxiety about sex and relationships, and it was so funny, and the performances and tone were spot on.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, bless you.
We love
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
And with that, I think we're about done here. I want to extend a heartfelt thank you to all three of you for being here to talk about this, but also for being not only hot gay messes in quarantine, me on the internet, but hot gay messes in this wonderful film, Straight Up. This has been a blast. And for everyone out there in internet land watching this, just to reiterate, you can rent this film through Sofa Cinema, Milwaukee Film, or also if you want to support it through iTunes, stay tuned.
In a month, well, yeah. Support Milwaukee right now and then own it later.
Yes. But thank you all for participating, everyone in the virtual audience, and have a great rest of your day.
Bye.
Thank you, Aster. Goodbye, everyone.
Thank you.
James,
Bye.
Katie, see you soon.